Carl Sagan could not have predicted 2021, but he did see it coming. He wrote the following back in 1995, and we quote, "I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when, clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. The dumbing down of America is most evident in the slow decay of substantive content and the enormously influential media. The 30-second sound bites now down to 10 seconds or less. Lowest common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance." Roll that around for a while. Those were among his final published words. He died 10 months later. Here we are 25 years later, realizing just what he was trying to tell us back then.
Ashton Forbes, you know, that super jacked guy.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Even as these grainy satellite images released today by the Chinese government.
Again, the Malaysia flight too was one shot at China saying knock it out.
Why shoot it down though if it's not hostile?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Why the Americans would?
They leave distance annihilated.
This country is very powerful. Far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world. Not even close.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should be his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
That's what it's all about. That's what this was all about, chat. This was all about it the whole time, chat. You thought this was about figuring out teleportation. You thought Joe Rogan didn't want to talk to me because he got the call by the CIA. It was because he doesn't want to stand next to me in a photo. That's what it was all about. It was something so petty the whole time. Doesn't that make a lot more sense, guys? But think about it. I was just thinking. Welcome, by the way. Welcome to the live stream, guys. Tonight, we're going to be talking about fusion propulsion. We're going to be talking about the B2. We're going to be talking about Eric Davis, putting some of this stuff together for you who are trying to understand how all of this is possible. Now, isn't it funny how, people would say, you're grifting off of MH370. To some degree, sure. I've made money off of this, but I've made less money than you would make working for McDonald's. So it's not that crazy, honestly. And most of that I've paid out to people who are like helping to produce the content for you guys. But isn't it kind of genius how I took these leaked military videos and turned them into an entire brand? Where now you see them get played as people's intros, not even just my intros. Alex Jones uses them. Stephen Greer uses them. I saw Benny Johnson using the videos, which are now my videos now. I've declared ownership. Finders, keepers rules, we're going to say apply in this situation, like finding buried treasure. I've claimed them. One sec. But that's the perfect way to make sure these videos never go away. You burn them into the psyche of humanity. You turn them into a brand, into something where people go, wait a minute. When you talking about wormholes and teleport, isn't that those videos that I saw? Exactly. Because I know the bullshit they were trying to do. I knew how this was going to play out. They're going to pretend like, oh, yeah, we've always had plasma orbs and fusion propulsion. But that doesn't mean those orbs are real in those videos. We've always had teleportation. Of course, anyone who didn't think teleportation was real, that was crazy. But that doesn't mean those videos are real. That's what they're going to do. So we're not going to let them do that. We're going to make sure that when these things become real, which they are, because we know they are, that they have to admit, yes, okay, there's a reason why we didn't find a crash of a Boeing 777 in the ocean. I'm looking at these YouTube videos about MH370. People are just completely delusional. They're trying to make fun of the MH370 videos, and they're going, how does he explain the debris? How does he explain the debris? I'm going, how do you explain that we couldn't find any debris? How do you explain that some random dude is finding debris washed ashore in Africa? And you're trying to tell me this plane crashed off the coast of Australia. And nobody can answer the question. Because we've all been collectively brainwashed. We can't answer a question we haven't been programmed to answer, because it makes no sense. The only story that does make sense for the debris they found in Africa, by the way, is that this plane got teleported out of the Nicobar Islands and showed up in the Maldives. Let me pull this up for you guys. Had this ready to go. This is the real sighting of MH370 in the island of the Maldives. This is the coordinates. You zoom in here, you'll see it's on this island called, I always get it wrong, Kudahoduvo, right? And they say they saw the plane right here flying south. Do you want to see something crazy, chat? Let's go south. What's south? Oh, uh-oh. What is directly south of those locations? Oh, that's Diego Garcia military base. So you go from impossible to pronounce islands where real people saw the plane, and they say they saw it flying south, and you just scroll south. It's the middle of fucking nowhere in the ocean. So when people ask me, where did the plane go? It's either at Diego Garcia or they just ditched it south on that direction route. I mean, that's where the evidence lies. How crazy is that? Because, like, I actually wake up and I read these comments and I go, how in the hell do people not realize the truth? It's not me trying to convince you. I'm literally just showing you the evidence and going, this is the only thing that makes sense. We can even tell the direction the plane's being teleported. Okay, sorry. Couple more things. We're on the variety portion of the stream tonight, guys. Number one, chat, it is February 25th today. It is almost March. It is literally freezing outside. I don't know where you are in this world. I moved back to Minnesota a few years ago. This is the first time where I do not understand how people live here. I do not. It has been 5 months straight freezing every day. And we got jebaited a week ago here. It got warm, 40 degrees. I was about to put t-shirts on. That's how warm it felt for us. I wouldn't even be bothered by people walking around in sandals and shorts at that point. And then it went back to freezing again. So pardon me for not wearing one of my beautiful shirts today, but I got to wear like 15 layers and have the heater on, which I love, because it's actual torture to live here. I have to say, global warming is a fucking lie. How they always talk crap when it's like 150 degrees out, but when it's literally freezing for 6 months straight. Nobody says anything about global warming anymore. Now it was never really global warming. It was just climate change. Get out. Get out with your global warming crap. I hate the global warming. And it's honestly even dumber than that, as we know, because we have free energy technologies that they're just suppressing that would make global warming obsolete anyway. But even if it was real, it's still stupid because it's freezing out. You know what? Give me some global warming. I'm like Vladimir Putin. Why? The real psyop was convincing us that global warming was a bad thing. Global warming is good, chat. I want to throw some more poisons into the sky, please. Make the global warming happen faster because it's not working here. It's not working here. I want it to be like Los Angeles in Minnesota. Los Angeles can figure it out when it's like the desert. Sorry, I had to get based for a second, chat. And I'm not done. Somebody said, stop talking about politics. Stop picking on Candace Owens, Ashton. Hell no. Hell no. You know what it feels like to feel like you can't express your true opinion because you're gonna lose influence. I am never going back to the situation like that ever again, even if it means I never do another podcast. Not ever. Not ever. To me, all that woke stuff, all that loyalty test, purity test, that's the reason why I left the Democrat Party like 10 years ago. That's why I left the party. I'm not going back to the purity test, loyalty test crap. You say and do stupid crap. No, thank you very much. And I don't know why everybody has gotten so inundated in this weird Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk thing, but it is dark, man. Like Dan Bongino went on a rant. I'm not going to play it, but he is right. It's whatever's happening to me is if I was watching what Candace Owens is doing right now, trying to like tear down Charlie Kirk's wife in the wake of his assassination. If this happened in like the 1600s, people would 1,000% burn Candace Owens as a witch. And the crazy part is I would be there cheering it on. It really makes me question a lot of things. It really does. Because maybe witchcraft is real. Maybe it is real. Maybe demons are real. No. That's not even what I wanted to talk about. Because I've spent too much time attacking the woke right. Admittedly. I should be attacking the left more, and it hurts me that I am not, to be honest with you guys. Because it's just so unserious. Like, we just had the State of the Union yesterday. We're not going to talk about or go into it. We're going to focus on science today. However, watching Trump just give a master class on how to expose your enemies publicly, live, bravo. Bravo, man. I love it. That's why he is the commander-in-chief. That's why he is the perfect president. He knows exactly what to say to trigger them. He knows exactly what to say to throw them off. He knows exactly what to say to humiliate them. It's amazing. And like their response couldn't be. I thought it was fake. That's how ridiculous it was. Here you go. This is real. If you're wondering, this is real. So when people say, Ashton, why are you going at the Democrats so hard? It's not personal. Guys, when I go after people, it's never personal. Sometimes it is, but almost never personal. It's just reality. Here you go.
I'm fresh out of an ICE prison in Minneapolis. I've been arrested 3 times by ICE over absurdity, over us being ourselves, over me singing songs like, hey, Mr. Tangerine Man, get rid of brown people for me. I'm Aryan white. There ain't no place I'm going to.
I'm sorry, I had to pause. What? First, what? At first, I thought he was like a comedian. Like they brought the comedian on to talk. And then he says, I was arrested by ICE and multiple times. I'm going, wait, I don't think he's joking. I think this is like literally just a criminal that they decided to give the mic to, who dresses up like a giraffe. And yeah, it's pretty clear why he gets arrested if he's acting like this in public frequently. Doesn't surprise me. I'm just gonna let him finish. I don't know why.
And then all of a sudden, he's not ready for prime.
Also, is he drunk right now on drugs? Why has he got these glasses on?
Time player ICE agents with 2 weeks of training come after me. I got arrested in Portland.
Should I ask why there's frogs in the background here? Should we just avoid that? We're just going to avoid that for now. I just want you to compare and contrast the various parties here. Is there really even a choice? This is my option. This is my alternative that I'm going to go to. You think we're going to give warp drive to these people? You think we're going to give fusion bombs and teleportation technology to these people? No. These people are never going to get this technology. You guys don't get it. I'll let them finish, but then I'm going to go on another rant.
I got arrested in Minneapolis in the last 3 weeks twice, but they can't erase.
Why is he talking about it like it's a brag? Why is he talking about it like it's a brag? I don't get it.
A movement, all right? What I went through is 1/1000th of a lot of marginalized people and what they have to go through in those ICE detention centers. And I want to.
Okay, I can't even. That was as much as I could do. Here you go, CIA. You broke me. CIA, look, heart to heart. This is true. You broke me, CIA. I saw the real world. I saw how stupid the people are. The Goyim. I love saying that kind of name. The Goyim. It triggers all sides. That's why I love that. You're right. We don't deserve it. So here you go. Just you admit that the MH370 videos are real. You admit that we have teleportation. The smart people will be like, oh shit, they're not. That's what happened. The dumb people, those people are never going to believe it anyway. I'll tell you what, I'll join your team willingly. This is binding, chat. This is binding. I'll switch sides. If you would admit what we did to that plane, I'll switch sides. I'll say you're lying. I'll be like, nah, they didn't do it, chat. I'll be like, I made that all up. CIA is lying. There's no teleportation. Teleportation is fake as hell. I was just LARPing that whole time. 400 live streams. 400 live streams of me LARPing about fake science. It's easy. I made a whole persona. And I'll just flip the script. Switch up like that. And then I'll join Team CIA, and I will be the best disinformation suppression person. I don't know what the numbers are, or like if there's probably like a record board for how many people you gaslight. Sorry. How many people you gaslight into self-harm? I will get the record. I will get the record, chat. I'm telling you. Write up the contract. We'll make it happen. Okay. That's enough. Let's focus on science now. Okay, chat. Fun story. If you want to understand science, if you understand physics, that's one of the first times I've actually broken character on stream. Normally, I'm really good at not just cracking, but you have to understand history. If you want to understand physics, you have to understand history. And there's one story that I cannot get past because we're watching what seems to be impossible. We're seeing a Boeing 777, which is like the biggest plane in the fleet, by the way. It's like the biggest plane in the fleet. It's almost like they intentionally picked the hardest possible thing to teleport. Getting vanished straight out of the sky. Just gone. Something that seems straight up impossible. So normally I would say, okay, a lot of these stories of things that happened in the past that have been debunked, probably not real. But there's one in particular that I think about all the time. You guys may have guessed. It's called Project Rainbow, also known as the Philadelphia experiment. And it's so strange that there's a whole story from the 40s about a battleship or a cruiser that was teleported. And not only is there a story about it, but some of the smartest physicists ever to exist are connected to the story. Einstein, Tesla. And then there's another guy too. The other guy connected to the story is a guy named Thomas Townsend Brown. And what's crazy about that is this is the guy that they claim he's like the father of anti-gravity for the US government. That he was literally the guy that gave them the idea to build flying saucers. So you have all this mythology, this lore, and it seems to corroborate the science, because we're out here saying Einstein was right. There are gravitational waves. Tesla was right. Everything is waves. Everything is frequency and vibration and resonance. And then we're also going, Thomas Townsend Brown was right. Electrogravitics, Kaluza-Klein, extra dimension. We can manipulate gravity using electromagnetism. Should be obvious when you look at the equations for the forces. They're almost identical. So here's a clip from a guy named Paul LaViolette. A lot of people have asked me my opinion on this guy. And truthfully, I hadn't done a lot of research. I had read about his opinions, and they seemed to align. After watching this full interview, I got a lot better idea on where he's right or where he was wrong. So here we go. Let's play this. It's pretty interesting. This one.
Bring up the Philadelphia experiment, Paul, and I had guests on Coast to Coast over the years, a fellow by the name of Al Bielek, Duncan Cameron, who claimed that they were part of the experiment. And this is what they say, and I just want to get your reaction to it. They say that something went awry with trying to cloak the ship in the Philadelphia shipyard, and that it literally made the soldiers and the Navy people on the ship disappear. Or in some cases, half of their body was in our plane, the other half was gone. Do you think that's true? Was that real?
Yes, I believe, because I can understand how that happened in the context of subquantum kinetics.
I thought that point right there was important. I can explain how that happened. That honestly, isn't that such a huge point? He's not saying that he was there. He's not saying, I know I was there, I saw. He's saying, that makes sense from a physics perspective to me. And this is so big because it seems from a classical physics perspective, completely impossible. There's no way that story can be true. There's not even a basis for it. But if it's true that the government has been covering up electrogravitics, then that story would be the origin story. Why is it the origin story? Because they weren't trying to teleport this ship. It means they would have discovered something accidentally.
In physics, it's a total mystery and nobody believes it. But in subquantum kinetics, if you can change the gravity potential by pulsing with electric pulses, and raise the potential so it's not we're in a gravity well. If you can create a gravity hill, things will disappear optically, because what will happen is the particle, a subatomic particle, has a wave pattern around it that stops light from going through. That's why light doesn't go through solid matter, except maybe glass. Those waves would disappear first before the cores would disappear. So the particles would still be there, but now light could actually go through and it would look like it's invisible. And also people could blend with put your arm through. But then you raise you put the gravity potential back down to create normal gravity, and everything will come back. And if you had your arm in a wall, You're stuck there. You can't get it out.
Whoa, so this might have happened.
I believe it did. And I believe because of that, they kept it so secret.
So he's explaining the idea of negative energy. He's saying, what if we could do the opposite of gravity? Instead of creating a gravitational well that pulls you down, what if you could create a gravitational hill? If you could create a gravitational hill, what would happen to light? What he's saying is, what would happen to light is kind of like a black hole. In fact, it's exactly like a black hole. The light, you wouldn't be able to see the light. So it would look like there's a void, potentially. So this phenomenon, what he's describing there is exactly what we're seeing in the MH370. He's describing a wormhole, which is just a black hole. Now, here's what I thought was funny about this. Later on in this interview, George Norrie asks him, by the way, I've been on Gaia with George Norrie, and I've been on Coast to Coast multiple times. Not to brag. He asks him, so what about wormholes? And he gives the oddest answer. He says, no, wormholes aren't actually possible with sub-quantum kinetics. And so sub-quantum kinetics is the version of the solution to classical, his unification theory, basically. It's his unification theory. Well, there he's wrong. But what's interesting is also later on, he says that superluminal speeds are possible, like warp drives. So to me, that seems contradictory. If you have superluminal speeds, and I mean, that's really what a wormhole is, in my opinion. But I guess it comes down to what your definition is. Now, how I've defined it, pay attention, especially newbies. The EM drive, that's real, by the way. The EM drive is same concept. You're pushing off the vacuum. You're pushing off the 0-point energy. That would be your impulse drive. That's your slowest thing. That's your skateboard. You're riding on your skateboard for slow speeds, but still reactionless, propulsionless. Next tier up is your warp drives. Your warp drives, you're riding on your surfboard. Okay? You're riding the wave. In that situation, a warp drive can be any speed from rest or from anything beyond rest up to super luminal or basically to the speed of light. Anything beyond that, I personally consider to be a wormhole. But maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it'll get more nuanced. So he gets asked, well, what about black holes then? And he tries to basically say, well, that's just refractive index of the ether, which is also probably true. But it doesn't mean that you can't have a big bunch of mass there as well. It's also possible. So I think Paul Laviolette is correct in his conceptual view of the ether. Correct about what he said right there related to the Philadelphia experiment and how teleportation is possible. But I think he's incorrect about how he views the idea of the wormhole. Because what we see in the MH370 videos is beyond any doubt. We're looking at a wormhole. We're looking at them create an invisible tunnel between 2 points. No doubt about it. It's not actually traversing the distance. That's the thing. That's why it's important. Is that you might say, well, I'm going superluminal speeds. But if you are, you'll be traversing the distance. The difference between a wormhole is that you're actually doing the extra dimension thing like this. Right? Okay. So that's one bit of the history. Bet you didn't know you were getting the history lesson tonight, chat. Next video. By the way, yeah, okay, we'll go to that first. Here's the real Yahtzee of the night. This is the breakthrough of the evening. And somebody was pointing out, I think in the replies on Twitter, that there have been a lot of Yahtzee moments recently. A lot of boom shakalakas, so to speak. And here's another one. Like, we have figured this thing out. We are over the target beyond what I would have ever expected. I never would have thought we'd be able to figure out what's going on with these orbs. They have figured out fusion propulsion. But the question is, how did they figure out the fusion propulsion? How did they figure it out? And so it turns out that the lore around the B-2 bomber has a little bit more spice to it than I thought. I thought that the B-2 bomber leak was just that on the wing of the craft, they charged up the top half of it to basically cause like an asymmetric charge, more positive on the top than on the bottom, or vice versa. And the idea is that the charge difference causes lift. And it's not a lot, but it'll give you some, and that's good for flying, right? And to me, I was like, okay, well, that's cool, but it's not like incorporating a lot into the thing. But there's something else that we may have learned. I am going to keep you in suspense here for a minute. Let's go back to Paul LaViolette.
Technology that we possess, Paul, is beyond what anybody would imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, here we're using it. We acknowledge the B-2, but the propulsion system is secret. And they even say that the secret thing is the radar invisibility, but that's to get you away from thinking about the propulsion system. It's really the propulsion system that's so highly classified.
What do you think the propulsion system is?
It was leaked by some Black Project scientists and published in Aviation Week and Space Technology back around '92, that a B-2 charges the leading edge of its wing to high voltage, and the opposite charge they dump in the exhaust. And so they're creating this huge field gradient across the craft. So that was the main thing they...
Why are the engines covered up, chat? Why are the engines covered up, Lockheed? Actually, sorry, Northrop. Why are the engines covered up, Northrop?
Leaked. And based on that, and knowing Brown's patents that he published back in the 50s, and he was proposing this, that wasn't suppressed at all. It was exactly the idea. He showed charging the leading edge of the craft and using flame jet generator. That was the other thing that the fellow mentioned, that they generate the high voltage difference in the jet engine itself using flame.
They generate the voltage difference in the engine itself? Oh, shit. What am I looking at right here? This looks like an air-breathing MHD engine right here. What the fuck? This looks like a scramjet, like a very crude scramjet engine. They're pulsing this charge through this tube that's pulling air in, and then fuel is coming in here. By the way, this is how fusion works. This is how the fusion reactors work. If you boil down the fusion reactors, the fuel would just be like your boron 11, and then your air is where you're ionizing the air to get your hydrogen that you need for your deuterium. And then you have your pulsed... and then they just have this jet. It just has minus signs. Those minus signs represent like electrons being shot out the back or something. And I'm thinking about the orbs, and I'm going, holy shit. I'm going, holy shit. Hold on, let me finish. I think he says something right here at the end.
That the fellow mentioned, that they generate the high voltage difference in the jet engine itself using flame jet generator. Townsend Brown developed that.
Amazing.
Thomas Townsend Brown developed that. And I'm going, oh my God, it's all making sense now. Let me play. I'm not going to play this whole clip. I got to like make a shorter version of this clip that I've got here. This one's a little too long, I think. This one? I think it's this one.
It's pretty safe.
One sec. Magneto. Oh, where's that Paul Sis video, guys? Okay, well, there's the video. I can't find it right now for some reason, but the reason why this is so amazing is because now I can explain, just like Paul LaViolette said about the Philadelphia experiment, I can explain the B2. Somebody said in the chat, Ashton really figured this out. Yeah, I think we really figured this out. He says the radar and the stealth is not what's the secret. It's the engine. The engine is what's secret. Whoa, that's a weird thing to say. But the radar is also secret too. The stealth is secret too. Because we know how does the stealth work? They're charging up the leading edge of the wing. They're using a plasma sheath to cover the plane in plasma, and the radar is going to scatter. You're basically going to be invisible. That's what they learned. They learned that plasma will basically make you invisible to radar. So they use it as a sheath to basically cover parts of the plane, or maybe as much of the plane as they can. The engine, how did they figure out fusion? They figured out fusion in rocket engines. That was the first place they figured it out, because all the requirements are right there. You're already moving at a high rate of speed, so you have a huge amount of compression flow for your air. And you go, well, wait a minute, why not just turn the air into a plasma? And then we'll use some magnets on the inside to confine it to a specific point. Boom, that's a fusion reactor. That's a fusion reactor right there. Of course they figured it out in the engines first. Why don't they want to show us the B-2? What's so secret about the engine? Because they're using that. If it's not already a fusion reactor engine, it's probably so close that they can't show you, because you would just realize right away that you're only one small step away. That's what I'm guessing is the situation with the B-2. Ties into all this. And he says they had to keep this all secret. They accidentally teleported a battle cruiser. They weren't even trying to. They put these huge magnetic degaussers on it in the 40s, trying to make it invisible from radar. Isn't that interesting? They were trying to make the cruiser invisible from radar, the same thing we talk about with the stealth with the B-2. And instead, they claim that it teleported the ship. So the idea would be they figured out teleportation. They figured out electromagnetism was connected to space-time manipulation, aka teleportation. And then they incorporated these concepts into our advanced spy planes. How come no one can see the B-2? Why is it stealth? Because they're using plasma to make that thing invisible. They can probably turn it on at will whenever they need to, whenever they enter enemy space. Probably why no one has any videos or images or photos of them like in operation ever either. And then they took that idea and they said, why do we need a person inside of this thing flying around? This should be the most obvious thing in the world, chat. Pay attention. Why do they need a pilot inside of the plane? In the 1970s, we would have thought, yeah, we didn't know what drones were. Ever since the mid-2000s to 2010s, it would seem stupid to not have something be drone-based. So, of course, the military took the plasma sheath concept. They said, well, wait a minute. The plasma sheath is making us invisible. So let's make this craft much smaller and encase it entirely in plasma so that it is just straight up invisible. Invisible from radar. No matter what direction the radar hits it, you're not going to see that thing. And now we just turned it into a drone. Now we just turned it into a tactical weapon. And this, I mean, I think anybody can realize. Now the question would be, why would you keep that secret? Come on. I would agree. I would keep that secret. I still think we should keep it secret. Hell, I just offered at the beginning of this live stream, I'll help keep it secret. I'll help gaslight the people. Because, yeah, we're not ready for this. Have you seen the internet? Have you looked around lately at what's trending? At how stupid people are? I don't even think we're getting smarter. I think we're moving towards idiocracy. Okay, let me take a look here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything because I didn't get everything prepared here. Here we go. Oh, yeah, I want to read this to you guys. So this, I'll pull it up to give this person credit. I mean, this is just AI slop, basically. But I like when people read my posts and they're like, hey, they ask Grok, is this real? AI, is this true? Does my life have to incorporate this into its worldview? I'm afraid you do, sir. Here you go. Yes, the core claim about the B2 Spirit's leading edge positive charge and negative charge in the exhaust traces directly back to a single notable article in Aviation Weekly, or whatever it's called here, Aviation Week in Space Technology from 1992. Black World Engineer. So this really did leak. This was presented in the context of enhancing stealth to reduce cross-section by ionizing the air or managing plasma effects around the aircraft. I need to just have memes of me just smiling, just being correct, just being a wholesome chungus who gets everything right. That's what I am, chat. Just a wholesome chungus that gets wormhole technologies right. Used to drink martinis every day, solve the world's biggest mystery, drinking martinis every day, working 2 jobs. There it is, right there. Literally says with plasma. And I'm betting that most people just didn't know what this meant. You just wrote it off like with plasma. Okay, cool. And I'm going, wait a minute. We're looking at plasma drones now in 2014, circling an airplane, zapping it out of the space, zapping it out of the space-time. Let's see. What else does it say here? Amplification. Oh, yeah. So silence. They never followed up. That was pretty much all I wanted to point out for this particular piece here. Now, let me see what else I got. I don't want to miss anything. I think we're ready for the... Oh, one more thing. Okay, let's pull this up. Whoops. There we go. Dark journalist. Interesting guy. I saw this clip, and it kind of gave me...
All the way back to...
this is actually the short. This is like the shortest version. I do have to say, did this guy hire somebody to like pretend to interview him to make these clips in this weird cinematic style? Because this seems like what this is when I see these clips. I'm like, I don't know who this woman is. I've never heard of her before. It seems like just somebody he just hired to do this, to like pretend to be an interview him. Okay, anyway.
This goes all the way back to a physicist in the 1950s named Robert Sarbarker, sort of accidentally spoke to an interviewer and was saying, oh yeah, the major subject that we keep at a higher level than nuclear secrecy is UFO secrecy.
Holy shit. So I looked into this. Actually, it's not true. At least not directly true. At least there's nothing that can be directly traced back to him saying those exact words. But this guy Starbucker, he really did say that there was like Vannevar Bush is supposedly MJ #1, and that there really was this UFO. The UFOs were like a real thing. So I think the takeaway really was that there really was the UFO thing from the public persona was considered to be make-believe. But the people in high positions of power knew it to be a real thing that credible physicists were taking seriously. And I think he names Vannevar Bush, Oppenheimer. Hold on. I actually like grokked to this to make sure I didn't get this wrong. What was it? Vannevar Bush, Nikola Tesla, John Trump. Yeah. Okay, I think I pretty much got it right. So the thing about this is that there definitely was this nuclear connection to this phenomenon. Now, the real question is, was it that we figured this out from aliens and UFOs or whatever it is, right? Or did we use that as a cover to cover this up? To cover up that we figured this out, like accidentally from the Philadelphia experiment. Ultimately, I leave that for you to decide as the viewer. I personally don't care. I really don't care at all what the answer is. I do kind of want to know from a curiosity perspective, but for me, it's just a matter of getting the technology out. Right? Here we go. Here's the real physics. Here's the real science. Here's how it really works. So it connects back to the UFO phenomenon. And there's probably a good reason why the UFO phenomenon started to show up after we were developing these nuclear weapons, after the Philadelphia experiment, except for maybe the Foo Fighters. So I get it. Don't at me, chat. What was the other thing I wanted to show you? Hold on. Okay, and we're saving that for later. Okay, let's go to the main event. The main event, this article. Oh, here we go. Here's the Staubbacher thing. Let me pull this up real quick for you guys. Sorry. So here was this article about it. And what did he say? He said that he knew the people that he has not participated in the UFO program, but he knew the people that did. And the people he named as being part of the UFO program were Vannevar Bush, John Van Neumann, as in von Neumann probes. Do you guys know what Van Neumann probes are? One of the popular ideas for how life could be seeded throughout the universe would be that you would make a self-assembling probe, and that every 500 years it would get to the next planet, colonize that planet, rebuild a new probe, move to the next one, and that you could seed the entire galaxy in only like 10,000 years or something like this using this method. I mean, it's more than that probably, but that's the idea. So von Neumann and Oppenheimer. I mean, that's crazy because these are like three of the top scientists in the world that are being connected to the UFO program. And in the same time period in which the Philadelphia experiment would have been happening. Let me just, this is a direct quote. This is apparently the letter here that he sent to somebody or he got from someone. There were reports that instruments for people operating these machines were also a very lightweight, sufficient to withstand the tremendous deceleration and acceleration associated with their machinery. I don't think that's the reason. I remember in talking with some of the people at the office that I got the impression that these aliens were constructed like certain insects we have observed on Earth, wherein because of the low mass, the inertial forces involved in operating these instruments would be quite low. I still do not know why the high order of classification has been given and why the denial of the existence of these devices. Huh. Isn't that a weird story? Because that doesn't seem like somebody making up something. That's somebody being like, I don't know why are people like lying? Like, why are people covering this up? They're just, okay. They're just lightweight devices that seem to not be as, have as much impact of inertia. And I think what he doesn't see, what Staubbacher didn't see is that they were actually modifying inertia. And that part of the reason why they're lightweight is that they're super efficient. When you are trying to build a rocket engine, number one thing is you want it to be lightweight. Number one thing. That's the reason why you don't want the onboard fuel. The fuel is the number one thing weighing you down. So any alien technology is going to be lightweight. But what does that remind you of, chat? For all of my viewers watching right now, when I say, hey, lightweight aerospace materials, does that remind you guys of anything? What does it ring? What bells does that ring for you guys? For me, I think of one thing right away. I think of aerogels. Aerogels. There's somebody. Yes, you guys got it. Exactly. Only recently have we been exposed to this idea that you can like pump air into metal and you can basically make a lightweight metal foam that is super structurally sound, but also very lightweight. And do you know why this is interesting? Why is this interesting? We have speculated, and it has been speculated, that fog bank, the super secret nuclear metamaterial for nuclear weapons, is an aerogel. Whoa, chat. So we've got a guy here saying that UFOs are connected to nuclear weapons, higher secrecy than nuclear weapons. We've got the lore around this going back to the 40s and Einstein and Tesla, around the same time nuclear weapons were first being developed. We've got our fusion, our reactors and concepts being put into our hypersonic crafts. And then we've got people saying, oh, well, these are these super lightweight devices that are flying around. That seems to be exactly the same as the description of our nuclear weapons metamaterials, fog bank, aerogels. And if I were to come up with what kind of material would I want to use in my fusion reactor, my bubble plasma fusion reactor is going to fly around. Number one, I want superconducting magnets. Number two, I want some of that fog bank. Hit me up with some of that pixie dust, son. I want some of that good. I want to encase that thing in my fog bank material that's super resistant to heat. That's like a gel that's like basically light as air. That's the perfect material for my secret fusion reactor engine. I could literally not think of anything better. Have you guys seen the videos where they heat this thing up with a Bunsen burner for like 5 minutes and it doesn't even get hot? And then you touch it, you're like, yeah, nothing. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to encase your shit in. No doubt. So, we're getting into a lot of good stuff tonight. The next breakthrough. Shout out. So, this guy, who is it? I better shout him out. Right? Gene Sticko. I think he's a UFO guy, pretty sure. Gene Sticko. I saw this post earlier where he accumulated all of Eric W. Davis's research. Accumulated Eric W. Davis's research, the history, his lore, to try to piece together a cohesive story for what it is that Eric W. Davis is covering up. What is it that he is hiding that he's not revealing because he's got NDAs, classifications, blah, blah, blah. And right off the bat, as you might suspect, it's very similar to the research that we've been doing on these live streams for the past couple of years. Because admittedly, we've already done that. We've looked at these scientific papers. We have read everything, or I have read everything that Eric W. Davis has put out there on the public sphere. And the conclusion that we have reached, that I have reached, is that at a bare minimum, he's aware of the program that's going on, building the UFO technologies, whatever the hell you want to call it. And at worst, he literally helped develop teleportation for them. Because the missing link in all of this is, okay, you got your fusion orbs flying around. How the hell did you figure out to spin them around in a circle and make them come together and make the plane disappear? Doesn't seem intuitive to me. Like, oh, yeah, just put them in a triangle formation and spin them around. Like, what the fuck you talking about, bro? Somebody said that shit to me, I'd be like, you are out of your goddamn mind. You are out of your damn mind. There's no way that's going to work. Yep. All we got to do is quantum phase lock it to the other location. I'll be like, sure. Show it to me. So, let's take a stroll through this document. Give Gene Stucco here a follow for his great research, by the way, because this is the kind of research that should be getting promoted. So if you haven't already retweeted it or quote tweeted it, I quote tweeted it earlier, like a couple hours ago after work. Go ahead, find it, take a read. Now, it's way too long. We're not going to read everything. So I'm just going to give you guys the highlights. I kind of skimmed through it, read the important parts. Number one is when you look at all the projects this guy did, huge amounts. There's no denying the pedigree of Eric W. Davis. Eric W. Davis has clearly been connected. The main story that Gene is presenting, that he has concluded, is that Eric W. Davis must be the middleman between these black project programs working on the UFO technology and the public that is trying to reveal it, or the group that is trying to reveal it. That's what he's essentially concluded, which, I mean, obviously, I think that's the case. Okay, so he also compared it to this Russian guy, Soviet aerospace engineer Valery Chenerov. I'm just making that shit up, bro. Don't even come at me trying to say this name, guys. I literally think that someone's just trying to make me go crazy by making everybody's names like some insane shit that I just possibly can never pronounce in this world. It's fine, though. Okay, so we got ARPA-E contracts. We got all this other superconducting research. Okay, so some key points. He's a pipeline. Eric Davis is not speculating. Great article, great point. Eric Davis is not speculating, chat. This is not a guy that is a podcaster like me that's going out here saying, here's the research. He's saying, dude, I literally have firsthand experience in the program, talking to the people working with the program. This guy is not speculating, chat. That's why, remember the very first time when I found this guy, found his papers, I said this exact same thing. I said, when you read this, do you not get it? This guy's not speculating. These people aren't speculating. They know the answers, and they're writing it in physics papers, and the world is just ignoring them. Why? Because they'll say, well, it's not proven. Yeah, because the military is not going to break out their fucking fusion orbs to convince some idiots on the internet. No one cares what you think. Sorry if that hurts your feelings. Okay. NIDS is Bigelow's National Institute for Discovery. So this is how Puthoff found Eric Davis. There it is. Eric Davis was connected to Bigelow. And this was supposedly the program. Bigelow was supposedly trying to acquire this stuff, work on this stuff. That might be the program right there. Puthoff found him. Puthoff brought him in to the Austin Institute. And then he works on the OSAP. And then he goes to the Aerospace Corporation. And what have we learned about Aerospace Corporation, chat? Aerospace Corporation is a government-funded, non-for-profit, non-for-profit that basically takes these contractors and engineers and hands them off to the defense contractors like Lockheed Martin. And this is how they help to avoid accountability. Because now, how do you track that money for where, like, Eric Davis might go work in a lab for Lockheed Martin and go do a teleportation experiment for them. And you'd be like, there's no way. And I'll be like, yes, there is a way. There is a way, chat. He might go do that. He signs an NDA when he goes into that lab and says, I can't talk about anything I see in this lab ever. Ever. Right? And then this is not even being paid by Lockheed Martin. The checks are being signed by a subsidiary underneath Lockheed Martin. So even if you were to somehow find this, which you can't because Aerospace Corporation is technically not a government company, you would never be able to tie this back to where Eric Davis did any of this research. Do you get it? This is how they keep it invisible. It's crazy how simple it is, actually. And it actually works pretty much. This is the part that's like just like the Marvel movies. The Marvel movies don't get any of the physics or science right, generally. But they do get the cover-up stuff right. Just literally just a shell company. Just shell companies doing shit, and it's only like a couple layers, and then you're never going to find it. Okay. The Wilson Davis memos. I'm not going to go too much into the Wilson Davis memos. We did like a whole live stream reviewing them. But he spoke to an admiral that basically said, yes, these secret programs exist. And even the admiral couldn't get access to them, even though he was the guy that was supposedly had authority over these programs. So the guy that was supposed to have authority over the programs couldn't even get access to them. And what we found out from John Ramirez, who's afraid to talk to me, by the way, former CIA, John Ramirez. This is why anytime you see CIA people going and talking on the internet chat, go watch it. Even if they're either gaslighting you or they're giving away the game, one way or the other. And it's fun to try to figure out which is which. John Ramirez says, this is actually, I gotta play this shit. This is gonna now the context of this is so insane. Where is it? I have the clip. This one I have. Wait, I don't have the clip. Oh, okay, hold on. We're gonna find it.
And so this intelligence agency, we have the worked side on that bigot list. Extremely narrow. And that there are very, very few people on that bigot list. So even though that you might have a top secret SCI clearance, you may not be on the bigot list. Even though you might have a titled position in the intelligence community, you may not be on that bigot list. So on that bigot list, I can reveal that there were presidents of the United States, secretaries of state, Department of Defense officials, including the Secretary of Defense.
I feel like I'm watching the Holy Grail unfold right here. Are you watching this, chat? I just told you about the Wilson Davis memos, where Eric Davis spoke to Admiral Wilson and said, these programs, these unacknowledged programs are real. This is CIA officer, agent, I respect John Ramirez, saying that John Ramirez saying, I saw the bigot list, which is the secret list for who's allowed access to these programs. And he's saying in context of those memos, because Admiral Wilson was not on the bigot list. Admiral Wilson is not on the list. But other people are on the list that aren't even admirals, which should make people question, what? You're telling me there's secret programs of UFOs and stuff where admirals aren't allowed access, but other people are? So who are those other people? I'll replay it now that you understand the context.
In the intelligence community, you may not be on that bigot list. So on that bigot list, I can reveal that there were presidents of the United States, secretaries of state, Department of Defense officials, including the Secretary of Defense, the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and at that time it was called Intelligence and Security, INS, and the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics.
Thank you, John Ramirez. Thank you for this gift that you have given us. Because every time I think I'm going to get stuck in a wall where I'm not going to figure out more people that know about what they did to MH370, I'm not going to be able to figure out their secret positions they have in the CIA, they just give it to us. They give us more information. The Secretary of Defense, the Undersecretary, the President is going to all know about this. It's more people than we think that know about these secret technologies, which makes it fun to poke at them because we know they know. We know they know.
ATL. And
by the way, if you think this is crazy, keep watching.
And a whole host of CIA officers, but numbering like very few, from various parts of the CIA, including logistics, technical officers such as myself.
Logistics CIA, technical officers in the CIA are on these bigot lists too. We got to find these CIA people, chat.
People responsible for making this program run. There was a few NSA personnel on it. No DIA personnel whatsoever on it. I don't recall the then director of a DIA being on that list. So yes, you can have a very tightly controlled program without.
Those are the Wilson Davis memos right there in the contact that he put in the background. The memos I was just talking about. For the people wondering, yes, he's saying bigot list, BIGOT. It's not like as in being a bigot, but yes, they probably use that so that it's conflated. That's how they operate.
A major officer of the intelligence community on that program. The fact of the director of DIA knew about these programs, that's one level of a sack. The fact of that you know this program exists. That's what Admiral Wilson knew, but he wanted to know more, and he was denied that. The programmatics, as we call it, the logistics, the budget, the location, the progress made in that program, all of the details at the program level, he was denied. And I believe that that's possible based on my own experience with this other program.
So he's saying right there, he was in a program in a position where he saw the bigot list, and he's saying what Admiral Wilson is explaining to Eric Davis, he's saying that's very possible that happened, that he was being denied because he wasn't on the list. He wasn't getting in the club that night, chat.
Now, I just want to say that I was the control access.
Chat, whether or not you're new, pay attention to what this man is about to say.
As program officer for this at a very brief time because I did not want to have this responsibility. But it was very, very insightful to see who was on that bigot list and who was not on the bigot list.
It was very insightful to see who was on that bigot list and who was not on that bigot list. Ready for it? Here it comes.
Now, secondly, I happen to know Eric Davis in a way that he does not know I know him.
Holy shit-o, chat. Secondly, I happen to know Eric Davis in a way that he does not know I know him. If anybody ever says some shit about this about you, you should get either a restraining order or a defensive weapon in most cases. In this particular case, I think it's pretty clear that he's saying he saw him on the bigot list. Eric W. Davis was on the bigot list. Because how else does he know about Eric W. Davis without Eric W. Davis knowing about him? This is some crazy shit that this man said in a video on the internet.
And I can't reveal, I don't have his permission from Dr. Eric Davis to reveal how I would know him.
What the hell? Who talks like this? I don't have his permission to. You just said he doesn't even know about how you know him. And now you're saying you need his permission to reveal it? Bro. I can't even think of any other context that this makes sense. The only context this even makes any remote sense to me is this dude saw him on a bigot list. Eric Davis doesn't know that John Ramirez saw his name on a bigot list. This is his way of saying that he saw him. And now he's like, hey, can I say that I saw you on a bigot list? Because it kind of reveals that he was on unacknowledged programs. But I think he's okay with saying this because Eric Davis is whistleblowing. Isn't that what he's doing? So weird, dude. Weirdest shit ever.
But there are several CIA officers in a managerial capacity that knew him. And so I hope that Eric Davis will reach out to me or I can reach out to him.
There were several CIA officers that knew about Eric Davis in a managerial capacity. I wonder if that same phrase can be applied to me. Are there several CIA officers that know about Ashton Forbes in a managerial capacity? That would actually be dope. That would give me the ego boost I need today, chat. It really would. By the way, CIA, who I know has been watching, get ready to put the plaque on the wall right above the star where the people who lost their lives or whatever, put it right up at the top. Ashton Forbes got us. Got by a guy from the internet. Wholesome Chungus beat the CIA. Subtext. Put it there. Memorize it every day you come into work. I want you to look at that sign. And I want you to go, damn it. Some random healthcare IT guy blew up, was smarter than the whole CIA with our teleportation technologies and our gaslighting. All it took was one dude and a social media. Look at that, learn from it, be humbled by it. Humble yourself. Even a god king can bleed. Okay, chat. Let's go back to the thing here. Honestly, if you guys want to honor me after they kill me, which they're gonna do, they're gonna do eventually. Let's just be real. Make them put that plaque up. I want that plaque more than I want the Pulitzer Prize. Number 2, rip up the Pulitzer Prize in my memory on live stream, just to show how worthless Pulitzer Prizes are. But number 1, make the CIA put that plaque up that says Ashton Forbes got us. That will be the most humiliating thing they ever have to deal with. Perfect punishment. Okay, let's go back to this. So back to this research. Talking about the history of this. Let's skip through the history of this part just for the sake of time tonight. We kind of know some about the past. They talk about the Grush pipeline. And he talks about the problem with the Grush pipeline is that it seems like it might be circular. And I've spoken about this, is that all of these UFO people seem like they're sharing stories. So it's hard to tell when they're corroborating one another if they're doing so from independent sources or if everybody is pretty much just getting their information from Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff. Like, I know that's where Lou Elizondo's getting his information from. So that's a little bit of a problem when it comes to this research, I have to admit. And then they find this other engineer guy here, and he has ideas that are very similar to Eric W. Davis. This key concept. So, this is his key concept. So when he puts this stuff together to try to combine this together, and this is this guy's own research, fine, whatever, how he wants to do this. Eric Davis's 6 DIRDs, the Defense Intelligence Reference Documents. Interesting. Because this, I agree, this is the key bit of evidence. Why do these papers exist? Why did the Defense Intelligence Agency even commission them? And why did they get declassified? These are the questions people should be asking. And then there's this Russian engineer. He had 119 pages of engineering specifications for fusion-powered electromagnetic propulsion. Well, chat. Would you look at what we have here? Huh. Look at that. Oh, yeah, there. Oh, we got a little fusion propulsion from Russia. Well, isn't that interesting? Produced independently between the 1980s and early 2000s as the investigative starting point. And then we have these public programs, DARPA, ARPA-E, DOE, Navy, and the Navy one is actually Salvatore Pais. So this guy actually connects Salvatore Pais's patents to all of this as well, because it's undeniable that there's a connection. You look at his patents, you're like, wait, he has a fusion reactor patent, and he's referencing Lockheed Martin and Bussard and the Polywell. Like, yeah, it's like clearly this is all connected to fusion propulsion. Like, clearly it is. That's what these people are working on. Now, look at this. Will you look at this, chat? What do we have here? The 6 convergences that should terrify you. Convergence number 1. MHD propulsion. What does that say? They're building the same engine? They were all building fusion propulsion? Wow. What a coinky-dink. Davis authored or commissioned DIRD number 26 on magnetohydrodynamic air-breathing propulsion, written by a Lockheed Martin engineer. Are they talking about Paul Sizz? Isn't he the one who wrote that? Maybe I'm wrong. Or that might be Bernie. Who was the Lockheed Martin engineer in that one? The Russian guy who, I mean, oh, come on, man. How am I supposed to say this guy's name? Cernohov? Can we just give him an English name? I'm just going to call him Chris. Chris. So Chris, work number 2, provides a complete MHD electric current design integrated with a fusion reactor, including specific reaction pathways. Helium-3 fusion. You got to be kidding me. He literally got the aneutronic fusion pathway for helium-3 aneutronic fusion. The Russian guy was building an aneutronic fusion propulsion reactor. Are you kidding me? And the only way we even know about any of this is because we did all this research to figure out what any of this shit means. Anybody else that looks at this doesn't know what fusion's all about, has no clue the context of this, no clue what any of this means. So what? They'd be like, look, there's some numbers and chemicals. Who cares? That's aneutronic fusion using helium-3 right there. What the hell? And whoever said, look at Unlab, check out Unlab. Are you kidding me? I am literally Charles Chase's #1 super. I'm offended. I am anyone who thinks they're Charles Chase's #1 superfan, fight me right now. Fight me right now. I'll give you an invite to the live stream. We'll debate it out right now. Nobody else is even close. I'm #1. I got Charles Chase's picture on the roof of my bed that I look up to every night. And I think, what would Charles Chase do in this situation? He's the #1 BPTG. You think I don't know about the Unlab? Sometimes I just send Charles Chase email that says, I love you, boo. Or I'll say, when can I be your apprentice? What will it take? When can I unlock the force? Chat, y'all don't even know me. I thought you knew me. I thought you knew me, chat. Okay, sorry. Just someone spiked my cortisol, chat. Spiked my cortisol. Let's get back to the good stuff. So DARPA has this pump program, Principles of Undersea Magnetohydrodynamic Pumps, targeting 20 Tesla magnetic fields using Rebco superconducting magnets. Hold up. Whoa. #1, they just explained how these things can fly underwater. Why are the UFOs, what do they call it? Oh God, I'm not, look at me, struggling with even basic stuff now. Transmedium. Why are they transmedium? Because they can fly underwater. They can convert, they can pull the hydrogen out. #1. #2, who just said it? 20 Tesla? You guys, 20 Tesla was literally thought to be unthinkable to be able to produce magnetic fields of that strength. #2. #3, Rebco superconductors. Rebco superconductor. That's the exact kind of superconductor that levitating dipole we were just looking at the other day was using. Literally that exact thing. Go back to the live stream a couple days ago when I said we looked at the levitating dipole, which is what the orbs are. It's just a more complicated version. And it turned out the breakthrough was the Rebco superconductors because they're super lightweight and super high magnetic field strengths. And so you're telling me that DARPA had this pump program and they're literally making plasma that's transmedium with 20 Tesla magnetic fields using superconducting Rebco. I mean, we should be taking a pretty strong look at this. People need to not let this one slide. That's only from a couple years ago. Like, this is where they're just doing this stuff in the open, and nobody knows what any of these words mean. So they can get away with it. But, like, if you just read between the lines here, you're like, wait, are you building underwater plasma orbs that are pulling hydrogen out of the water here? With magnets that, like, these magnets, by the way, are like the same strength magnets that Commonwealth fusion systems, and the exact same kind of magnets that Commonwealth fusion systems is developing and were just accredited for their fusion reactor. Which, by the way, I've decided now Commonwealth fusion is going to be, I think, a scam. Not that it doesn't work. I think Commonwealth fusion is the scam fusion, where they're going to be like, yeah, this is the best fusion, but it's like the jankiest, most nerfed version. But they're going to try to sell it like it's the best. I can see it coming a mile away, chat. Okay, let's go back to this. So we have a major connection here, because I don't think anybody else has brought this up before just reading this, but the other connection, we were able to connect Ning Li to this. Those YBCO superconductors, that was like the iteration before Rebco. So the YBCO superconductors, they were beneficial for the same reasons. And we're trying to make a levitated dipole using a superconducting magnet. So we need to be lightweight. We need to be malleable. We need to be able to shape it. And that's what the YBCO superconductors would allow. That's what the Rebco superconductors. So it's not surprising that people were testing these superconductors and they were seeing mass reduction effects, anti-gravitational effects. Not surprising. You're playing with the same physics now. And here you go. Here it is. Look at this. It's right here. September 5th, 2021. Commonwealth Fusion Systems and MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. Chat. Nuno Larerio. That's where he worked. Just telling you. Demonstrated a world record 20 Tesla magnetic field with a large-scale, high-temperature superconducting magnet. That's what made a breakthrough that made the pump program possible. That's wild to me. And here you go. DARPA's program explicitly cites the 20 Tesla Rebco breakthrough as the enabling technology. Tokamak Energy's latest magnets reached 24 Tesla. The DOE validated Commonwealth's full-scale production magnets in September of 2025. That was only a few months ago, awarding them $8 million in the largest milestone program award to date. They've already raised $3 billion, including from Bill Gates, who's one of their main investors. Wow. I think we found something here, chat. I think we found something. So then next, take a look at this. The same power plant, different blueprint. So he looks at the other papers. I wish he actually listed them out. Inertial electrostatic confinement fusion, DIRD number 1. I don't think that's the name of it, is it? The second one, advanced nuclear propulsion. I'm pretty sure this is aneutronic fusion propulsion is the real name of this. Oh, no, that's DIRD number 30. Okay. So here you go. He points out, look at these DIRDs. He says, these scientific papers explain advanced nuclear propulsion, aneutronic fusion propulsion. Keyword of the year, chat, aneutronic fusion disclosure 2026. That's where we're at right now. Collectively, these can survey every compact fusion approach relevant to mobile power for electromagnetic propulsion. So he's researching every single possible power source for the UFOs. These papers cover every power source for the UFOs. And then the Russian guy, Chris, provides detailed engineering specifications for thermonuclear synthesis reactor using the, is that chlorine lithium reaction? Possibly. So this guy's using lithium for his fusion reaction, which we know a lot about lithium now. Lithium is what they use for thermonuclear weapons. Lithium might be the secret fuel, the best secret aneutronic fusion fuel, even better than helium-3 and boron-11. Maybe we just don't know yet. That might be the next secret. And this provides 22.4 MeVs of energy. The manuscripts include multiple deuterium injection points, magnetic field containment zones, inertial plasma containment, and dual power extraction via MHD generation. Chat. Chat. That is your fusion propulsion engine right there. You have the hydrogen getting injected from the ionization of the water or the air. You're injecting your hydrogen, your helium-3 or your lithium or your boron into the mix. You're inertially confining it in the middle using your inertial confinement fusion method, which are classified because of nukes. You've got all of it lined up. And then on top of that, you're extracting the energy in the form of electricity, not steam cycle. So you basically have a ball of lightning and you're just spinning it around, and you've turned this thing into a little generator that is just stable. And it uses so little energy that it can even build up that energy. That's how efficient it is. That's what they've developed. They've tapped in to pure magic. They've solved physics and created efficiency levels that seem impossible. Actually, Tim Pool put it best. Tim Pool, I would never guess that he would have these levels of insight. But he said free energy is about efficiency. It really is. When you realize that the energy we use is generally less than 20% efficient, you go, wow, we're leaving a lot on the table. Can you imagine a world where we achieved 99% efficiency? That would immediately increase the amount of energy we have fivefold if we just increase the efficiency. That's without tapping into free energy at all, without an additional source. This is why when it comes to free energy, people just need to be thinking outside the box on this. We have a lot of advancement to do. Okay, so then he lists some other programs here. And Salvatore Pais, shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to friend of the show, Salvatore Pais, plasma compression fusion device. This is what really had me suspicious of Sal, which he's adamant that all of his ideas were his own, which I think they are his own. But I think he's also been privy to classified information in science and physics that he knows. He's not speculating. Just like with Eric Davis, Sal's not speculating, guys. Sal's not speculating. He may not have the conceptual view 100% right, but he's like 95 to 99% right. And he knows that it's real. And so interesting point. He says the convergence isn't on fusion in general. It's specifically on compact mobile scale fusion as enabling technology for electromagnetic propulsion. That's such an intelligent insight. This isn't just about fusion. This is about aneutronic fusion. And aneutronic fusion is the kind you need for this kind of propulsion because you need directed energy conversion. It would not be efficient to be boiling water in your fusion reactor and having it fly around. You need it to be super efficient. For a super efficient fusion reactor, it must be aneutronic fusion. Simple as that. The orbs in the MH370 videos must be using aneutronic fusion. I wasn't certain before, but I'm certain now, based on understanding the physics. So, and this connects directly to Lockheed Martin. I mean, Lockheed Martin, they screwed up so big when they put this video on the internet for us to find later on. I bet in 2014, when they put this video on the internet, they never thought in 2025 some guy would have found this video, chopped it up, and shown that these people, no question, no doubt, they are building this exact thing. Levitated dipole fusion with superconducting ring magnets inside of it, magnetic mirror to trap it on the inside for your inertial confinement fusion, aneutronic fusion for your propulsion, to be able to fly your little plasma orb around. Lockheed, we got you, bitch. Wait.
Fusion is a much safer option. A next generation of airplanes that doesn't rely on fuel and can just stay aloft, unlimited range, unlimited endurance. That's what nuclear fusion can do for an airplane. We put it in a magnetic bottle that can contain the high temperatures. You need hundreds of millions of degrees.
Boom! Magnetic bottle. That is a very specific terminology that is used exactly for using these superconducting magnets and creating your magnetic mirror in the middle. You create the magnetic bottle, and now you have your nozzles that allow particles to escape, but only a few and only the ones you want. Boom.
We can release in a controlled fashion net energy. We think we have a very robust strategy going forward that has potential for success. What this concept does is it's a high beta concept, which means we use a high fraction of the magnetic field pressure. We use all of its potential.
Oh, a high beta concept, you say. Well, that's one of the key words. High beta concept, use all of the magnetic potential. This is about efficiency. Beta equals 1 is about efficiency. This is how you make your orbs that can fly around, is that you are controlling the fusion reaction. You are maximizing the efficiency of your magnetic field as it is maintaining and keeping that plasma trapped, just like the planet Earth has its magnetic fields around its planet.
And that means we can make our devices 10 times small. So instead of something the size of a building, we have something the size of a large truck. The small is the reason we can do this quickly. If something's small, you can build up momentum, you can develop it fast. It doesn't take 5 years to design it. It takes...
Honestly, that's good enough. You guys get the point. That's Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Some people say, why are they telling us this? They were bragging about this because they thought this was going to be the next thing. They thought this was going to be disclosure. And then disclosure didn't happen. The Department of Defense jumped in. The DOE jumped in and said, you got to shut this down. You got to make this go black. And so the whole program went dark in around 2019. And it's never been heard of ever since. We know it was successful because we found Charles Chase, who is the guy that quite literally made Lockheed Martin do that project. So should make you question Charles Chase's knowledge, because he told me directly in an email that he worked with Ben Rich. You know, I'm going to play the Ben Rich clip. Let me repeat that. Charles Chase told me directly in an email that he worked with Ben Rich, because I asked, because I looked at his timeline of him working at Lockheed Martin since 1986, and I was like, dude, you should have overlapped with Ben Rich, and you worked at the Skunk Works. I mean, how big can it be? You are now one of the highest engineers ever to work at Lockheed Martin. Probably knew Ben Rich, who's legendary. Worked on the F-117 with Ben Rich, I found out. Worked on the F-117 with Ben Rich, the secret spy plane. So here is the Ben Rich clip. This is literally my favorite clip of all time, probably.
Flyer from the School of Engineering inviting me to a lecture.
We got to fix the audio, though.
By Ben Rich.
Ben Rich was the director of Lockheed's Skunk Works for 16 years. He oversaw a number of USAPs that were secretly managed at the Skunk Works, including, most notably, the development of the F-117 stealth fighter.
Ben shared a slide set of about 40 slides of different things, starting with the U-2 spy plane, going all the way up to the stealth fighter at that time, mentioning that he couldn't talk about the other secret stuff. But when he ended his talk, he had a slide of a black disc zipping off into outer space. And he ended his talk with these words: "We now have the technology to take ET home."
So you have to have vision, and you have to have the guts and the courage to go out past the steps and do something of any value, and we have to go past our grasp.
And we asked him questions about it. What did you mean when you said we have the technology to take ET home? Ben shared 3 major things that I think are worthy of research.
Honestly, every time I hear this, it gives me goosebumps, man. Gives me goosebumps because you realize now that we've been privy to something that we were never supposed to see. We were never supposed to see those MH370 videos, guys. People used to say, what if the CIA just leaked those videos intentionally to misinform us, guys? We were never supposed to see those videos. Not in a million years. You realize Ben Rich was telling the truth, man. You realize Ben Rich saw some shit that broke him. You see those videos. I see those videos, and I think every single day about our situation on this earth. I think, holy crap, what is really going on here? I think, shouldn't this information be known for everybody? That's exactly what Ben Rich was thinking. He was thinking the exact same thing we're thinking. Here we go.
By researchers worldwide at this point in time. First was we've somehow figured out how to do interstellar travel already. It's known. The second point he made was that there was an error in the equations. My suspicion is it's probably Maxwell's equations for electromagnetic theory. The third thing he said was, how does ESP work? And I was really kind of startled because I didn't know what to say. But I blurted out, I don't know, all points in time and space are connected. And he looked me back in the eye and he said, that's how it works.
That's how it works. Absolutely wild. Okay. I think we're going to change gears here. Let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to take a look at this. So this is where he connects to Ning Li and the superconducting magnets. Thought that was really interesting. The metamaterials. Let's see here. Physics is no longer theoretical. Alcubierre warp drive. Teleportation physics study paper. Salvatore Pais's patents here. So really good research. Also, Eagle Works here. So this is Sonny White. Sonny White. One thing he missed. His research is pretty good. It's pretty decent. I'm not going to say it's the best. Because he missed the BPP. Chat. Ashton is pretty good at his research, chat. He missed the BPP. The BPP, the NASA Breakthrough Physics Propulsion Program. That is another big one. Mark Millis, Eric W. Davis, chat. How can you miss the Bible? Chat. What? Whose name does it say on there, chat? That says Eric W. Davis. Says it right there in this big textbook all about warp travel and exotic propulsion mechanisms. If you don't have the Bible, chat, you can get a free copy on PDF version from our Discord. It's in there somewhere. Also, I forgot to shout this out. I think I'm going to do that right now. Dana Kippel, A New Force, Plasma Consciousness, and the New Human Potential. Friend of the show, Hard Truths Extraordinaire. We had a great discussion about plasma, so she was able to send me a book. Appreciate it. Okay. Now, let's go back to this. So you missed that part. That's fine. Here you go. Here's the findings that changed everything. Russian guy, Chris. Integrated system in a single craft that combines all of these concepts. Fusion reactor using lithium or deuterium. I think this isn't quite right. I think that what we just saw is he was looking at 8 neutronic fusion sources. So he was probably looking at helium-3 or lithium-6. Got it. MHD generator for energy conversion. So the magnetohydrodynamics is for how you're going to turn your plasma into an engine that produces energy, electricity. Solenoid array. Now that's interesting. Because a hypercylinder solenoid is how you would trap all the magnetic fields within a tube. Or if I had this cup, if I wanted to trap the magnetic field in the cup like the liquid in here, that's what a solenoid would do. And so this is a really interesting concept because that's also the Ehrenhoff-Bohm effect, this solenoid effect that we use. Layered diamagnetic ferromagnetic hull for field interaction. This almost seems like Salvatore Pais's high-temperature superconductor. Gravitational electromagnetic coupling, so electrogravitics, and then atomic level engineered materials as structural requirements. This was one when I first started looking into the UFO stuff, or even before the MH370 videos, I thought the metamaterial thing was kind of dumb. The more I've looked into it, metamaterials are how you pop off. That's how you pop off with this. You can get your materials so advanced, you can create your little microchips that are so perfect that you can really start to achieve extremely powerful effects from very small things. This is how you amplify your effects. Okay. And then let's see. So this is nothing. It's no longer a question of whether the physics is plausible. It is. They've built the magnets. The magnetohydrodynamic drives exist. They're funding the fusion reactors. We have the patents for space-time engineering. So the question is, why is it not being taken more seriously? I think ultimately that's the big thing at the end of the day. You've got the scientific papers out there. You've got the people with the pedigree. They clearly are in the inside. They're not speculating. These are not conspiracy theorist podcast people. These are people that are working either with the Navy, working in these Black Project programs, no question. You got CIA officers saying that they've seen Eric Davis's name on a bigot list and he wants to know if he can talk about it. I mean, I don't know how people are ignoring this. And they're all saying the same thing. If you read the Bible, the engineering Bible, there's only one conclusion you can come to. It's the same one that I've given you here, is that they have figured out how to use electromagnetics for propulsion, aka gravity manipulation. And we, on the dumb public side, we have ignored it and decided we're going to think of it as science fiction when it's not. They've turned it into reality and they don't care what we think. So I want to now, with the last bit of our stream, go over a little bit more science. This might be a little too deep, possibly. We'll see. I don't want anyone to accuse me of not going over scientific papers and real evidence. So this is a very real press release. Method of teleporting macroscopic objects discovered. Let me repeat that. Method of teleporting macroscopic objects discovered June 30th, 2014. Researchers from National Institute of Informatics in Tokyo and the Russian Academy of Sciences have developed a method for teleporting objects that are large enough to be visible to the naked eye. How do they do this? Okay, I will tell you. Do I have to zoom in? Can I zoom in? No, there's no zooming in on this. It says the method uses a new state of matter called Bose-Einstein condensate, which was experimentally realized in 1995 and awarded the Nobel Prize to its discoverers a few years later. The atoms are cooled to several billionths of a degree above absolute zero, and then they form a single quantum state. While several other experimental groups have claimed teleportation using macroscopic objects, the type of quantum state that is teleported in the current field are different. Despite the macroscopic objects that were used, the quantum state that was encoded prior to the experiments was on a tiny fraction of the total degrees of freedom. In the current discovery, the whole state was teleported. Drawing an analogy with teleporting a compass needle, in the previous experiments, the weak vibrations of the compass needle were teleported. In the current state, the compass's direction itself was teleported. So this is pretty huge because you listen to this and you go, wow, mean, that sounds like straight up real teleportation, like moving something from one location to the next. Like information is being moved here, invisibly, impossibly. So you would say, Ashton, okay, maybe this is just some random person. Also, isn't it strange that that paper connects Bose-Einstein condensates to this effect, which Salvatore Pais, when I mentioned that related to the orbs, gets really excited. Thinks that those orbs could be considered Bose-Einstein condensates. And so what is a Bose-Einstein condensate? So let's ask Grok. Let's get some AI. Let's get some AI psychosis up in here. Grok, is this true, Grok? Tell me what to think, Grok. Tell me the key points of this paper. It says, this proposes we're going to use Bose-Einstein's condensates. We're going to transfer the quantum state of the object from one location to the next. This new entangled state in the Bose-Einstein condensates, a state of matter where atoms are cooled to near zero. This allows teleporting spin coherent states which encode the full quantum information of the macro object. Now, the reason why I think this is interesting is that this might be the pathway to teleport a full plane. This is why Star Trek teleportation gets it wrong. We don't actually have to figure out every single atom. We don't have to do that. We seem to be able to cheat. We seem to be able to like shine a light on it, and as long as we hit it, we're going to get all the information to flow. Where you would think it should be impossible to get these entangled states that are complex states and get the whole thing to move over. Shouldn't you only be teleporting one piece of it as opposed to the whole shebang? And so what this shows is that it now becomes theoretically possible because we now don't have to worry about every single atom in the airplane. There's now a loophole to it. Or if we just group it all together, somehow we can move the whole shebang at once. Okay. Let's see. What else did we say here? So what they did, they set up a Bose-Einstein qubit, Bose-Einstein condensate qubit, a cluster of 1,000 atoms in a condensate. Alice prepares the quantum state. Entanglement is created between the qubits. Now, why is this interesting? Because our whole last live stream, we talked about how do you create entanglement as a resource? That's what we would need if we want to pull this off. So we need to generate entanglement between the qubits. Alice measures her qubit from one of the entangled pairs, so from one of the bits on there. And then the whole thing will communicate over to the other side without any physical interaction. So what other papers are out there that have shown this? There's actually a bunch. Look at this. Look at 4 different papers it found right away. Macroscopic quantum teleportation with ensembles of qubits, 2025. This is a brand new paper from last year. This paper proposes methods for teleporting total spin variables of an unknown state using quantum non-demolition measurements and spin rotations on ensembles of qubits, such as in Bose-Einstein condensates. It extends the original scheme to higher dimensional teleportation. I love it already. You know what I'm reading tonight, chat. You know what I'm reading tonight. Addressing challenges like decoherence in large systems. Now, part of the problem is this. In these coherent states, if you try to measure it and figure out where something is, the whole thing collapses. So what they focus on is indirect measurements. Is there a way I can figure out which gate this thing went through by seeing after the effect and doing logical determination? That's what they do. And you can actually do that without measuring it to make plausible determinations. It's pretty bizarre, but it's true. Next one. Continuous variable teleportation protocol for split squeezed Bose-Einstein condensates from 2020. Is this the same guy? Same guy. These might all be from the same guy. Actually, now that I think about this, hold on, let's look up. Is this Chandri? Hold on, where is it? Who's the publisher? No, not the same guy. Okay. This is the same guy as the previous one, though. Develops a protocol for continuous variable teleportation using split-squeezed Bose-Einstein condensates where entanglement is generated via spin mixing dynamics. Now this one really got my attention. Because that whole presentation on the Unlab by Charles Chase, by Yorichiro, it was all about like 3 particles, like orbs, and how when one of them spins, how it affects the other one. And when I was watching that, I was trying to figure out why is this relevant? And now, when I look at that, I can only imagine quantum entanglement. What you want to know is this particle entangled to this one, and how would I be able to tell? Because when this one moves this way, this one's also going to spin as well because they're connected together. And so right here, what does it say? It says in this second one, they use entanglement is generated by spin mixing dynamics. It demonstrates theoretical fidelity for transferring squeezed states in macroscopic ensembles. Similar to the spin coherent state transfer, it focused on squeezed rather than coherent states. And when we talk about producing negative energy, they use squeezed states of light. I don't know if these are the same concept because in physics, they just seem to use these concepts interchangeably sometimes. But if it is, then that may be another connection right there for that second one. I haven't read through all these papers yet. Just got a summary. This paper, the precursor to the one that we just saw, was entanglement generation in quantum networks of Bose-Einstein condensates. A precursor to the 2014 paper, this work shows how to generate entanglement between distant Bose-Einstein condensates using projective measurements and spin rotations. This is crazy to me. Because what I think this is saying is that if you had 2 random plasma balls and you were to measure them spinning around, you could tell how they're entangled to one another. Because when this one moves around, there's a slight effect on this one, even if it's super far away. And you could just, if you were to measure the states of those plasma orbs, you would be able to tell. And you might then be able to get them to be entangled by spinning them the right way. Seems weird, but it's possible. So it lays the groundwork for macroscopic state transfer, including protocols for quantum state transfer akin to teleportation in networked Bose-Einstein condensates. So Bose-Einstein condensates turn out to be way more important than what we thought. And I didn't even know what the hell one was before this. And now I understand that you're putting all the atoms into a collective quantum state. And if you could increase the temperature of that, you basically now have a quantum effect at the macroscopic level that you can visualize. Just like with superconductivity, superfluidity, and some of the videos you see where people are playing around with ferrofluids. Okay. And then the last one, Devil's crevasse and macroscopic entanglement in 2-component Bose-Einstein condensates. It explores macroscopic entanglement in 2-component BECs, identifying regions of strong entanglement. See? What it's saying here is there's regions within them that are strongly entangled, useful for quantum information tasks like teleportation. It theoretically shows how such quantum entangled states can persist at macroscopic scales. So what they're saying is, like I just said, this seems insane, but somehow they're able to look at this plasma and they're able to tell based on it moving. They're like, oh, this part's entangled to this part. We can just tell because we're able to solve this Schrodinger equation through the extra dimension. So we can see how this influences this over a vast distance. And then we perfect that. And once we have perfected that, now we can make our point-to-point teleportation system. That's what they're doing with the videos in the MH370. And it seems impossibly beyond where we're at right now. But it's not. And here's some experimental demonstrations. Let's skip through that. Yeah, we're not going to go through all these details, but You guys can check out those papers, and there's even more here listed as well. Instead, let's do a visualization because we're norms. And I think, do I have a video demonstration for this? Yeah, this is the one, right? Yep. Okay, here we go. Look at me. I've got a video for us. Okay, guys. Whoa, chill out. Here you go. Entanglement as a resource, guys. Here is your moment of Zen for tonight, and then we'll get to some of your super chats. Thank you guys for hanging out, learning some physics. Entanglement as a resource. We've got some Chinese characters going on at the top, too. Perfect.
So let's go back and revisit our CHSH game from the first step. We have seen that entanglement can actually help players A and B win the game more often. If they share an entangled state, they can perform measurements on it, and this will help them in winning the game with higher probability. But what happens in this process of measurement is that A and B, in fact, destroy the entanglement shared between these two gray qubits. So maybe they managed to win the game, at least this particular round. But if they want to win again, they have to find a way of re-establishing this entanglement or creating a new entangled pair, which they can share and then use in the new round of the game. Similarly, entanglement is crucial in quantum networks. Let's have a very small and simple quantum network. These blue dots, they represent our network nodes. So they can represent qubits or...
Chat. Is this guy a ghost? Is this guy a demon? Those eyes, chat. I'm gonna look a little worried here. Okay, why is this important? Because look at this. The first goal is, how do we establish entanglement between two nodes? So if we're making our Ethernet, that's the joke. We're making our Ethernet of quantum entangled networks. What's going to happen is the moment you do a measurement, the entanglement's going to break down. That's what he's saying. So we have to reestablish the entanglement to make our Ethernet work. So there must be a way to establish quantum entanglement on demand as a resource. Must be a way to do it. And if there's a way to do it, now we have what we need to teleport our plane from one location to the next.
Ensembles of qubits, and these black lines, they represent entanglement shared between the nodes. And let's say that we have one sender node and one receiver node. Here is the sender that would like to send some quantum message to the receiver on the other end of the network. So one way of doing that is via teleportation. We're going to go into details of teleportation later. But for now, what you just have to remember is that teleportation uses measurements and entanglement to propagate the information from one physical place into a different one. So here, sender node has this state represented as neighbor, but at the same time propagate the information to this node. Then what happens next is this new node performs the same type of measurement, which again will consume the entanglement between itself and this neighbor here. And again, following neighbor performs a measurement, and finally the quantum information reaches the receiver node. So good, the sender has succeeded in getting the message, the application of measurements. So in order for the network to be fully functional again, we must have some process of re-establishing these destroyed links, re-establish entanglement between these links. So in this way, we can think of entanglement as the fuel that drives many quantum technologies. Entanglement offers improved and something.
Okay, well, that's pretty much just an overview. So now we have a high-level idea of where the physics is that's the cutting edge. We've found that they figured out fusion in these aerospace programs. They've been incorporating this stuff into their spy planes, into the B-2 bombers that we're never able to see. They apparently have plasma all over them. And the cutting edge now is, how are they producing entanglement as a resource? Because if they're able to teleport a plane like this, it means they've been able to produce entanglement as a resource, which means they can have a quantum internet already. They already have the Ethernet, probably. They're sitting there jamming Fortnite with zero lag, dunking on Korean kids with no ping, chat. Those poor Korean kids have 100 ms, maybe even higher than 100 ms, chat. They might as well just end it all now. Just think of the poor Korean kids, chat, and their ping trying to play against the cheaters in the CIA with 0 ms. I'm going to pour a little out for them. Such a sad world we live in. Okay, chat. Anyway, thank you guys for being here tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. The Ethernet is going to be dope as shit, though, and we've already named it. It's going to be called Ethernet. Is what it is. We're going to have 0 ping on our Ethernet. You're going to be able to download porn so fast. There'll be no buffering whatsoever. You'll be able to beat those. We'll finally be able to compete with the Korean kids. This should actually be a selling point. We could literally win votes off of this by telling the gamer kids, all those streamer retards will be like, yo, your video games are going to be like 10% faster. They will be racing to the voting booths to vote for us. This is literally going to be my platform running for president. 4 orbs for president. Promise you the Ethernet. Promise you 0 ping. Yes, you heard me correctly. 0 ping. Your ping will be 0. As long as you are affiliated with the United States of America. If you aren't, sorry, you're going to be buffering. You're going to be buffering, chat. If you aren't associated with America or one of our allies, we will take over the world. Not a single shot have to be fired. Not one shot have to be fired. That's all it'll take. That is my resume, CIA. You think I can't gaslight the world? I'll take over the world without a single shot being fired, just rolling out the quantum internet for gamer losers. Now that I said that, guys, I'm going to stop my stream and go play some video games. Okay, John Glock, what's up, brother? Nice to see you in the pill chat. Yes, it's the bigot list, everybody. Nice to see you, TSC90. Thanks for hanging out tonight, guys. And John Glock's children, appreciate it. Why are they telling us this information? It's a big question. Why are they telling us this? I think there may be multiple factions. Here's a scary thought. What if Eric Davis is on the good guys' side? What if that's the good guys? The best we get is Eric Davis, and he's the one trying to reveal this information, and he's the good guy? Oh, we are cooked, chat. We are so cooked if that's the case. It might be that he's the good guys, and the bad guys want none of this stuff to come out. That the bad guys are out there, with their kill squads, the wet works, whatever they call them, gaslighting people, destroying people's lives. Yeah. That's the case. Yikes. If that is the case, just break out the flashy thing. Just hit me with the Havana syndrome now. Give me the Down syndrome or the turbo cancers or whatever you do. Let's not draw this out. We know how this is going to all end anyway. Okay. Next chat. Oh, Rumble super chats. I didn't even know you guys could do super chats in Rumble. Double M's, $10 donation. Thank you very much. Says, delicious treats for Lulu's yummy tummy tummy. You made me say those words. Hope it was worth the $10. Somebody will clip that in a few years. Make me sound like a fruitcake. Bella Ferris. Ashton, $20 donation. Holy crap, Rumble. Look at you, Rumble. Ashton, the aliens behind the plasma curtain are amazed with you and your posse. Free wormhole rides with no probes. Chat. We got the no probe card. When the aliens come, and they're like, mandatory probings for everyone, you just pull out your card. You say, I'm exempt. No anal probings for me. I was big brain enough to see the plasma aliens coming. I saw it. Everybody else, they were waiting around for the thick whites. I anticipated it. Give the other people my share of anal probings. You can give my share of anal probings to Mick West. He wants it. He might even enjoy it. Okay, great donos. Let's go over to the super chats here. Bar T Welding, When the husband's away, Mr. Suds comes out to play. Chat. The clavicle guy, whatever his name is, he already said it to Piers Morgan. He already said it. He took my thunder. I was so ready when I went on Piers Morgan. It wouldn't even matter what the topic is. Wouldn't even matter who I was debating. I was planning on exposing Piers Morgan and his cuckness and his wife that's like sleeping in beds with movie producers and taking photos of the pool boy going, when Piers Morgan's away, Mr. Suds comes out to play. Literally the most humiliating thing your wife could literally ever do about you on social media. And it deserves to be exposed because it's just objectively funny. It's objectively funny. So I might even do it again, even though the clavicle dude already got it, already did it. It'll happen. Dobby with a throbby. The Mandela effect is real. If you look at old photos of New York City, you'll see two towers in the skyline. They're not present in any modern day pictures. Wake up, sheeple. That's factual. It's factual information. Where did those towers go? There used to be two towers there, and now there's no towers. Now there's no towers whatsoever. I do think the Mandela effect is interesting. And that's the thing I worry about the most, is that this whole reality is only because someone screwed up and went back in time when they shouldn't have, and then they messed everything up, and now we have this world we live in. Man, that would be disappointing if we found out that our whole reality was someone making a mistake by going back in time when they shouldn't have. Shouldn't have been messing with time. I will mess with time. I will mess with time. It's a Rick and Morty quote. Don't at me, chat. Timothy Foster says, bro, Trump mentioned new style individual power plants for data processing centers coming up. That sounds familiar, like TAE stuff. I may have to go find that quote, actually. I was looking for the spicy quotes from the State of the Union, and I didn't really see any today. I was disappointed. But yes, this is going to hit people. It's going to come out of nowhere for people. And for us, we're already going to sit there and we're going to already know about it. So TAE stock price may have gone down because Bitcoin collapsed or whatever, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried one little bit because they're going to have these fusion reactors for all the data centers. All the data centers from 2030 beyond are going to be powered by fusion reactors. They're not going to be getting powered by stupid steam power stuff and solar panels. And the fusion companies are going to become worth $1 trillion. That's my opinion. So yeah, we'll try to find that. If anybody can in the Discord find a timestamp or a quote for that, that'd be awesome. I appreciate you. Want to share that tomorrow. Blue Plasma Ball says, Sal keeps talking phase transitions. Oh, I forgot. Actually, there's another clip I was going to play. This reminded me. And I was going to play it the last live stream and I forgot. So we will play it now. Where is it? So I have a clip by I think this guy worked with Edward Teller or something. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. So anyway, then he says, is it possible the orbs are transitioning the plane's matter into ZPE? No, I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think they're converting the plane into energy. They're not literally turning the plane into a bomb. They are they're teleporting the whole state of the plane. So where is it? This one? Oh, I think this is it right here. Yeah, here you go. So listen to this. This is actually Hans Beth. Man, come on. Can someone just have a normal name? Some of you have normal names, please. Hans Beth. The use of my paper on shockwaves with Edward Teller. Remember, the whole live stream tonight, we've been talking about plasma using rocket technology to figure out how to produce fusion from plasma. Now listen to this.
Wrote a paper together, and since that was obviously of interest for aviation and probably for the coming war, it was never published. It was printed and distributed by the Aberdeen Proving Ground arm of the US Army, and I guess we could get copies of it. It was not classified, that is, it was not officially secret, but it could not be published in any journal. It has not been published to the present day in any journal, but it has been published in independent pamphlets, and it was the starting point for many experimental investigations after the war. In fact, shockwaves were used as a means to study the rate of chemical reactions in air, and it could also be used for other gases. And in particular, Arthur Kantrowitz made a life work out of this and studied the rate of of chemical reactions and similar things in various gases by using our paper.
Okay. Wow. They were studying the rates of chemical reactions in shockwaves. Like shockwaves of plasma, like the B-2 bomber, like the wings of the bomber, like the plasma sheaths. So right there is your missing connection. How did they get to fusion from these aerospace engines? Because they were studying the chemical reactions of the shockwaves, and they realized this is the exact same physics that fusion's trying to figure out, using waves of plasma to figure out how we can get fusion to occur and control the plasma, controlled fusion. Wow. And why was it classified? Well, you know why it was classified. Now it's obvious why it was classified, because this is what led to their fusion drones.
You actually also write at this very same time and connected with the same project, a paper on shockwaves in systems with specified equations of state. I mean, more general investigation of.
I did that, encouraged especially by John von Neumann, who was deep in.
John von Neumann, did you just hear that? John von Neumann, the same guy that was just connected to the UFO program.
Was deep in war work from the very beginning. And it's not a terribly important paper, but I found one curious point, namely in a shockwave, normally the matter is compressed. But if you take water between 0 and 4 degrees centigrade, then it expands under a shockwave.
Whoa. You asked me about the phase transition point. How about the phase transition point of water? Isn't water one of the weirdest substances on Earth? It expands when it freezes. It expands when it freezes instead of contracting. Huh. And there he's saying is that we looked at the shock waves of water, of hydrogen. Whoa. When you're looking at this and you're thinking about the hydrogen bomb and you're thinking about these effects, you're going, they were looking for anything they could exploit. No doubt they were looking for anything they could exploit for military advantage. Absolutely. Did they find it? I think the evidence presented here tonight says absolutely they did. So when people are researching the UFO phenomenon, they're wondering, what are these balls of energy flying around? You got to tell them right away. Aneutronic fusion propulsion. Magneto-hydrodynamic air-breathing engines. That's what they've been hiding. They've been hiding fusion, but not just any fusion. They've been hiding the best possible form of fusion, which is directed energy conversion into electricity. What you see and imagine when you watch the TV shows about how electricity is generated, the dream of taking the atom and harnessing electricity directly from it. To me, that's just incredible. I love you guys. I'm H370X. Have a great night. We'll be back on Friday. Take it easy. Love you. Later.
Out in the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space. traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeezed so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plate, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear.